Alright guys, welcome back. This is a 2022 Gibson SG Standard, or 61 in tobacco perimeter burst. Probably a better way to say all that, but that's what you're going to get. So, right off the bat, playability, excellent. It was set up really well from the factory. The frets are nice and level. They did a fantastic job on the nut. They even rounded the corners off a little bit. And good job, Gibson. Proud of you. Other than that, there's some finish issues that are kind of a deal breaker for me. If you're the kind of person that just wants to buy a guitar and play it, and you don't care about, the way the finish looks or whatever, you're probably just going to find me really annoying. So go and find somebody else, some other video to watch, because this is going to be kind of a whining session. But when you pay $2,000 for a guitar, I feel like it should, if not perfect, be, pretty close. Maybe a couple little cosmetic things. It happens. There's so much handwork that goes into these things that it just happens sometimes. So we'll start off with the fretboard. Definitely not as bad on this one as they have been. The piece of rosewood is beautiful on this fretboard. I love it. Look at those streaks. Gorgeous. And they conditioned it from the factory. They just started doing that again, and I'm so glad they did, because so many fretboards came in that were just like a desert, dude. We've got some tooling marks, but they're not too bad on this one. In fact, it'd be really easy to smooth these out all the way. Just a little, probably 800 grit sandpaper. This is the worst of them. Hopefully my camera will focus. I dropped it in the ocean recently, and it's had some issues focusing sometimes, but we just got some slight little ridge marks in here. Not bad at all. I'm not sweating that. So let's take this out and show you the headstock without dinging anything, because this one's going back. The headstock just looks a little off. The horn on the right side is rounded off and slightly misshapen. Most people would never notice that though, so that's kind of me being a perfectionist, I think. And it is hand done, but it's asymmetrical. They don't match. It looks off. And now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. And when you feel the horns, the one on the right feels really rounded over and weird, while the one on the left feels nice and sharp like it should. So that's a thing. But the worst of it, look on the edge of that horn. You see the blank spot. Now, I'm not exactly sure what happened here. I'm not sure if this is like a go-through from buffing or if it happened from putting it in the case, because the way this thing fits in the case is super, super, super tight. You have to push this thing down in there. So I can see if this finish, you see right there in the center of the screen, there's another one. I could see, pushing this thing into the case when it's still wet causing that. And that's most likely what happened. There's another one down here, just kind of below the switch on the bottom. You see it there? I only got one hand to do this, so you guys are going to have to bear with me. And then we've got down here on the bevel, it just gets kind of, watch where the light's moving on the horn. It's just a poor sand out job, and really all the bevels are kind of like that to some extent. This one too, and you can see the finish just sinks into the grain and wasn't sanded and filled all the way. There's a lot of finish sinking into the grain, which means the finish is really thin, which, some people think that is going to make it sound better. I don't necessarily buy it on an electric guitar, but anyway, that's just kind of, man, I feel like for a $2,000 guitar it should be better. There's tons of sandy marks in this bevel, which is not really showing up, is it? One cool thing about this finish is it's not black. It's actually somewhat see-through and like a very, very dark red. There's like a red in it, and it's in the finish. It's not in the wood. Oh, here's a little bit right here too. So that's pretty much what we got. For me, it's got to look a little better than this. The case does smell absolutely amazing, but I had to stick this thing out in the garage because it was just too much. It just smells too strong. So this thing is sitting out here until I return it, but look at how tight this fit is. You have to really push to get this thing in the case, and then once it's in there, it's in there. It's not going anywhere, which is good for shipping. But look, you have to kind of pull this up and push the thing all the way in to get it in there. So I wonder if maybe a little more R&D into getting a little better fit in the case would have prevented the big marks on the sides. I'm not sure, but maybe that's go-throughs. I think it's from the case, because it's the corners. It's right here, which is really tight fitting. It's down here and down here, which is also really tight fitting. So I'll bet this thing was just a little too wet when they stuck it in here. But we've still got the scratches on the sides and just kind of the rough looking bevels. And there were a lot of surface scratches. Right here is not quite buffed out all the way. You know, you can see the finish sinking in a little bit there. I'm not really worried about that. That happens all the time. This is a weird spot to sand anyway, so that doesn't bother me a bit. Wood grain looks beautiful, but the headstock thing too, like I said, most people, probably 95% of people, never even notice that, but now that I've pointed it out, hopefully you can see it. So that's it, guys. Overall, very good playing guitar, beautiful from a few feet away, but having these big marks right where you're looking, because you see that every time you play the guitar. It's $2,000. That's a little too much for me. My $400 Ibanez bass is like almost perfect, and it was only $400. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.